first aid workers.
Hi, I was a worker at HHS. I was fired illegally on February 14th. There are many people who are not getting social service programs, especially people with disabilities. Are you going to do anything to stop what's happening?
You probably deserved it.
I deserved it?
You probably deserved it.
I deserved it.
Dude, that's
wow.
so sad.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Why did I deserve it?
Because you seem like a clown.
Okay, sir, you shouldn't have said that on.
All right, welcome to the SnydeReport. I am your host, Gary Snyder. Before we get to our guests, which you can see somewhere over there, I don't know, but take a look. Anyway, our sponsors of the SnydeReport podcast, Robin Winston does a great job of sponsoring the SnydeReport newsletter with over 100, yes, I said 100,000 subscribers, daily subscribers. Sorry that my ADHD caught me there. Something flashed and I'm like, ah. Also, we need to thank former Congresswoman Jill Long Thompson. If you get an opportunity anywhere you buy books, you can get hers, Across the Aisle, Why Bipartisanship Works for America. Now, that gets me to my guest tonight. I have Huntington County Democrat Chairwoman Christine Bohm. Christine, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
And also Sean Johnson. Sean does a lot of things, but he will probably most infamously be known as my campaign manager when I ran for Congress against Jim Banks. How was that experience, Sean?
It was fun. I'll say that. I got the opportunity to learn a lot, not only about politics, but about you as a person, as a man, and boy, you are a funny guy.
I've been called a lot of things. I don't know. Funny's been one of funny looking, but that's a different story. But the reason I brought you two on tonight is because we've all seen the Jim Banks video of him just being the horrible person that he is to that fired HHS worker. And no one has dealt or dealt with Jim Banks more than probably myself. We have a long history. It's been documented through an AP story about how I helped him become a state senator. I got people out of the way from him. It's documented about how he was horrible to the people of Huntington that support him, making fun of the way they talk, live, you name it. I bring Sean on because he has that interaction as my campaign manager. So Sean has an intimate knowledge of Jim Banks and the type of person he is. And I wanted Christine on because she brings a unique perspective of being the county chair, Huntington County chair, and was the 3rd district chair while he was a congressman here. So we'll start with Christine. Christine, when you saw that video, what were your first thoughts?
So I promised you I wasn't going to cuss too much. However, let's just say my first thoughts was, oh, well, Jim's being Jim. This is exactly what Indiana voted for. They wanted a piece of shit in Congress, and that's what they got. And then they wanted a piece of shit in the Senate, and that's what they got. Jim Banks does not care about one Hoosier person other than himself. I'm not sure he cares about his kids. He's just a worthless human being. And the thing that I think bothers me the most is every time I see him act like that, it's embarrassing for our whole state. Like, there's no way that Sean or Gary or myself would ever talk to a constituent like that. We pay him. And I don't send him to Washington to be on his knees in front of Donald Trump anytime he gets. And I pay him to do that. And that makes me angry. But I wasn't surprised. I mean, to be honest with you, anything comes out of his mouth doesn't surprise me.
Sean, you were my campaign manager, so you dealt a lot with Jim, his staff, and his supporters. Your thoughts when you saw the video?
Again, not surprising. It's behavior that I've seen time and time again, and talking to people who work closely with him, the younger staffers, I mean, they all experience it. It's not surprising behavior. This is what 1.6 million Hoosiers voted for. And so, unfortunately, now we're in a situation where this is what we have to deal with. I mean, this is the same gentleman that orchestrated January 6th. I mean, he was there. He said live on X now. At the time, I believe it was still Twitter. What did he say? The senators are going to get their steps in today. I mean, he was a
8:30 in
part
the
of this.
morning.
Like, this man, he's proven time and time again what and who he is.
Now, when we see the video and we look back at Jim's career, is there anything that either one of you have seen that maybe thinks that this is an anomaly, or is this just Jim?
That's who he is now.
You know, what was the show? Just Jack. I can't even do it right. Just Jack.
Just Jack.
This is definitely
It's
who he
just
is.
Uh-huh.
The thing is, like, he's not afraid to show it. That's the bad part. That's the scary part, actually, is that he's not afraid to show who and what he is, with no regard, no remorse. You know, that's not why we elect, especially a role of a United States Senator. You're not elected to treat people like that. You're elected to serve the people, you know? And this is, again, what's crazy to me is the same gentleman will sit up here and say that he's, you know, so pro-life, but you're saying these things, but yet you come after Social Security, you come after the Department of Education, and you literally completely deny the fact that children are struggling in schools because they're hungry. So it's this same gentleman who's saying these things. Clearly, he's confused and a little bit delusional about what it means to be a good Hoosier.
Now, Christine, I'm going to bring up one of your old buddies, Senator Cory Booker.
I knew you were going to. I was hoping you were going to.
And he had a great quote in his 25-hour marathon
25
speech.
hours and 5 minutes, Gary.
Okay.
Get it right.
Thank you. And basically, he said you can't love America if you
Hate
don't
America.
love its people. You know, kind of a prophetic statement, considering what Jim just did and what he has done, and make no mistake, what he will continue to do in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I found it interesting and ironic at the same time, the juxtaposition between Senator Booker on the Senate floor for 25 hours and 5 minutes to talk about the absolute clown show that's going on in Washington and how it's hurting human beings. And to see Cory stand up there or Senator Booker and be genuinely moved emotionally. And then you get this clown from Indiana who can't even show some respect for someone who's lost their job, and then stands there and tells them that, you know, you look like a clown or whatever he said, you know. It just shows you the difference between someone who, pardon me while I go down this weird path for me, someone who's a servant leader like Senator Booker, and someone who gives us some lip service and thumps you with the Bible. It shows you the difference. Indiana could have chosen people to represent them that would have been a whole lot different. Yeah, yourself.
We've
as a
had
congressman,
many opportunities to end
Many.
that career.
many
Tim Banks could have been
opportunities.
done
Yeah.
a while ago.
Yes, yeah, and
It
I
would
think
have been
people should
done.
have. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just, you know, I get passionate when I hear that name, Jim Banks.
Mhm.
You know, because he's just downright disrespectful. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just his entire thought process, and especially when it comes to women. You know, it just bothers me. You know, and you look at a gentleman like Senator Cory Booker. You know, like, look at the difference between that. The way how somebody carries themselves. And I got the opportunity to talk with Senator Booker while I was at the Congressional Black Conference. And I'll tell you, what a guy. What a guy. You know, everything that he says, he actually means that. I'm jealous. You know, Christine, you got to work with him. You know, like, what?
And I don't want everybody overblowing that. No, I did not get to work with him. I got to be in spaces with him on 3 different occasions, but I did not get to hand in hand work with him, and I will never take credit for the work of Mr. Booker. Absolutely not.
You know,
Just
but,
for the
but one thing that we've seen this Jim's whole career, you know, when he's running for the Senate, I questioned his military service.
As well you should.
You know, he had a campaign commercial up that said, "Fought for America." And to me, as a former infantryman, you know, someone that was in the real military, that means he saw combat. And as far as I know, and maybe I'm wrong, I've been at least 3 times in my life.
3 times you've been wrong?
3.
Okay, good. I'm glad you knew it.
My wife points it out every day. She says there's more, but anyway, she took a sick day today, so she's not on this one. You know, show me the beef, if you will. Show me the ribbons that you saw combat. And he won't, because he didn't. And the ad was misleading. And what happens to Gary? I get a cease and desist letter.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Talk about that.
You just show me your
instead of
boots, Jim. That's all I'm asking. Show me the dusty boots, babe. That's all I want to see.
that's all I want. You know, show me where you fought.
Yep. Because passing
We're
out
good.
Snicker bars at the commissary isn't fighting in a war.
You know, I don't know everything Jim did over there, but from what I understand, if he saw combat, he should have a ribbon that says he was in combat.
Mhm.
And I get a cease and desist letter. Now, I neither ceased or desisted,
And still are not ceasing or desisting.
but just show us your military credentials. But that's the type of person Jim is. He's a coward. He's and I saw this, someone put this up on social media. He's always the first one to punch down.
Uh-huh.
He never punches up. He doesn't punch across. He punches down. And that is the story of Jim Banks.
He's very
Jim's
selective
bully.
with like who he was at.
Yes.
I like to see him go at Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. You know, I like to see him go at Senator Booker. Go at one of these folks who are not afraid of you. You know, stop picking on the little guy, if you will. It's really disrespectful, and to go back to your point of, you know, his military service. I mean, it's just downright disrespectful to go out here and claim that you're this great person, this next great hope, and we have men and women who have served our country bravely and who have given their lives bravely for us to be able to have the freedoms that we have, and to disrespect it, again, it just shows you, you know, this is what 1.6 million Hoosiers voted for.
You know, his rise to mediocrity is strewn with dead bodies. And I don't mean that literally, just
You should.
figuratively.
You should. The laws they're
Just-
passing, people are dying, Gary. They are paving that road with dead bodies. Yes.
I mean, I see another letter coming.
Let
Jim
him.
Banks did not kill anyone. No, Jim Banks
tell
did
him-
not.
He didn't kill anyone. No, his
He didn't.
policies are killing us. But go ahead and send it.
Exactly.
My name's on the screen. You know, get the spelling right.
Full disclaimer.
Let me ask you this, because I've brought this up several times, and I think Donald Trump does a great job of it, and I think Jim Banks is probably following close in those footsteps. And it's called what the fuckisms.
Mhm.
You know, it's create enough what the fuck moments that you are paying attention to Jim Banks calling someone who just lost their job, which could even be his constituent. I mean,
Yeah,
probably
He
not,
doesn't know.
but there are Hoosiers that have lost their jobs because of the Doge cuts, because of Elon Musk, because of Donald Trump.
Mhm.
But while we are paying attention to Jim Banks calling someone a clown, you know, he's out there wanting to cut Social Security, give tax breaks to the richest, kick people off of Medicaid, and you can go on down the line. Is that something that we need to be aware of here?
I think we do. I think one of the things that I think, and you know, we know that Jimmy's got thin skin. You know, that comes with being that little bitty tiny human that he is, which is why he
it
likes
does
to
look
punch
like
down.
he's off his Ozempics.
Yes, it does. He's getting a little chunky and he's short. So that's where his personality comes from. But let me
Got the
tell
pear ass working.
let me tell Jim something here very clearly. It doesn't matter what bullshit you pull. You will never, ever be the kind of senator that anyone looks up to. Senator Cory Booker stood up there for 25 hours and 5 minutes, and quite frankly, he handed your ass. So you may as well just back off and do the work that you were hired to do. You keep interviewing for a job that you're never going to get. Jimmy, no matter what you do, honey, you're never going to be a billionaire. You're never going to be a multimillionaire. You're never going to sit at the big boys table, ever. They will not allow you to do that. So if you might want to just stop selling us out so that you can feel important, because you're never going to rub elbows at the same events with Mr. Musk and all the other rich billionaire jerks that are out there. So you can just stop posing, because that's what Jim ultimately is. He's a poser when it comes to his military. He's a poser when it comes to being a congressman. He sure as hell is a poser when it comes to being a statesman as a United States Senate candidate. So he just needs to just stop. Just come on out, right? Put your tie above your head and say, I'm just sucking off the American people. At least you would be honest with us. But instead, you're just running around being an asshole.
Well, let me go with Tashawn with this. When you look back at the history of Indiana's U.S. senators, Birch Bayh, authored 2 constitutional amendments. Richard Lugar, you can go with Evan Bayh, past guest on the show. Throwing out names.
You name dropping.
Name
Poser.
dropping.
You're posing.
You look at Joe Donnelly and even Todd Young to a certain extent. And then we have Jim Banks. The history that we have as our U.S. senators is just being completely spoiled by Jim Banks.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the gentlemen that you named were all gentlemen of high character. They cared about the community. They cared about the people. And again, even to Senator Todd Young, when I had an opportunity to meet and converse with him, he was very respectful. He actually asked me what my name was, what I do for work. He asked me about my family. It was a very genuine conversation. I was honestly surprised. And then when you compare it to a gentleman like Jim Banks, it's quite shameful. And he's not even in the same class of gentlemen that these individuals are. I mean, these gentlemen actually work with young black males, young black, they give the time to say, hey, you know what? I may not agree with everything you do and everything you say, but I'm willing to learn. And that is the difference between these gentlemen and Jim Banks. He's not willing to learn anything. He's in his own little world with the silver spoons. And the worst part for me, going back to this video, is the young man that was standing in front of him. He's teaching this. He's empowering young people to carry themselves in this manner. That is the most shameful thing of all time, because you're teaching that this type of behavior is okay, and it's not. That young man is going to go up and say, well, I was with Senator Jim Banks, and he said it, so why can't I? It's a learned behavior. Mm-hmm. That's the problem with America right now. And that is the problem with Jim Banks, and that's why he is not worthy of the title U.S.
Now, when we look back to 3 years ago, when I was the Democrat nominee for the 3rd Congressional District, he refused to debate. He finally okayed it on WOWO, which is, fascist radio, with the 2, Fox Barbie wannabe and the Rush Limbaugh wannabe. And
Nazi News Radio.
When we look back at that debate that he actually did on the radio, he stuck to his talking points. He would not get off of those when he was challenged. He was like a robot and just kept going back to those talking points. And one thing that I think Jim Banks has learned over the years is that he will do anything to get the power, because he knows once he has the power, it's hard to relinquish it, to take that power away from him. And he's learned how to use that power. Democrats have not yet, whether it's at the federal level or the state level. It's not a fair playing field, because they will play to win at any cost, and we will just play to win by the rules. So is there anything that you learned, Sean, during that campaign, or Christine dealing with Jim during my campaign, or even going back to Courtney Tritch when his campaign said that she lived in her parents' basement? Is there anything from those campaigns or his campaigns leading up to this that made you wonder why people even support him? Because I'm shaking my head.
Yeah. Yes, then I want to go back to a quote. A wise woman once told me when I first came into this world and doing this work, county lines are invisible, and there's relationships between these counties that need to be understood. And when you don't understand those relationships between those counties and how those people work, you end up with a loser like Jim Banks. He has an issue with being honest. He has an issue with stepping up honestly and being a man. And so what I learned mostly in that campaign is stay true to who you are. Be the honest person that you are, but at the same time, don't be afraid to ruffle some feathers and hold his ass accountable. Because by us holding his ass accountable, that's what got him to come out and debate. That's what got him to show up and show his true colors. I remember looking back at that. I believe I was on Facebook Live with that. And I believe, Christine, you might have been on Facebook Live while he was doing that. You can listen to the rhetoric then. It's no different. It is the same thing. He's weak. He's scared. And when he gets challenged and when you ruffle his feathers a little bit, the real evil human being comes out. And so that's what I learned is to continue and, continue to work with great candidates, continue to hold his ass accountable, continue to fight the good fight, and continue to empower young people because the numbers we didn't win, but the numbers did show in the work that, we were able to get done.
Christine, what have you learned over the years dealing with Jim?
Well, I think I put Jim in there with all of them. I think that we're not playing by 2010 rules anymore, and it is time the Democratic Party figured that out. We can't play by the old, reach across the aisle. And while I respect Congresswoman Jill Long Thompson, I don't really want to play footsie with a Nazi. Every time the Democrats come to the table for compromise or a reach across the table, we give up a little bit more of ourselves and what we want. So what I learned dealing with Jim is that sometimes you got to crazy out crazy. And he's going to say whatever he's going to say. He's playing to an audience of one. That's all that is, right? I think it is time that the Democrats come out a little bit harder, start throwing some haymakers. I don't mean actually, but verbally.
Full disclaimer.
Full disclaimer. Come out with actual policies that people give a crap about. We are going to have to talk about the economy from now until the midterms. And if we can get ahead of this economy conversation and we can own this economy conversation, we're going to start changing some minds because guess what? When those tariffs hit, what is it?
Hey,
Thursday
happy
or Friday?
Liberation Day.
Happy Liberation Day, whatever the hell that means, right? It's not really a D-Day for us, but okay. There's a perfect example, right? So Trump is doing this shock and awe shit show, right? We just don't know where the bombs are coming from next. And we're like goldfish. We're running all around checking all the things, right? And this is what they do. Jim Banks, that whole thing yesterday, I swear to God, was orchestrated. That was not by accident that he showed his ass when the Democrats were out doing good work. I think he was sent out there. Now, yeah, I might be wearing my tinfoil hat, but what do I think? I think we've got to come out swinging. I think we've got to come out hard. And I think we've got to fight all of the bullshit with some facts. And we have to start talking to the voters. For God's sake, can y'all get over the D and the R? And start talking about the human being? I'm pretty sure that Sean, as liberal as he is, and Gary, as moderate as he is, and wherever the hell I fall, right? We can all agree a 40 to 50% tariff on Chinese good is going to cost American jobs. Period. There goes Dollar Tree, Dollar General, I should say, Five Below, Walmart to a lot of extent, small businesses like mine that we have small parts that come from China.
Oh, preach it. Go ahead.
Preach it,
Right
right?
here.
So CT Swag,
Right here.
our there it is. Sorry, Charlie, was made by us. So, we have some things, all of our t-shirts and stuff are made in Thailand and Malaysia and Vietnam. Y'all remember Vietnam, right? Well, they became an ally, and so they became a trading partner. They used to be red. They're not red. They're not commies anymore.
32% tariff, reciprocal tariff on them.
Yes, exactly.
All
Because
your
we're going to
clothes,
cripple them again.
all of your clothes are going to cost more.
Yes, exactly. And so, it's going to hurt small businesses like mine. We were to the point where we were skirting the idea of having to hire. I have to scale that back now because these tariffs are going to hurt. And so I think we come out, and what I learned was just say some outrageous shit. Some of it's going to stick, right? Don't lie, but tell the truth. Stop sugarcoating it and making it warm and fuzzy. And I don't want to make anybody mad, and I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Facts are facts. Tariffs are going to cost us jobs. American people are going to suffer. You cut Social Security. I swear to God, if my parents have to come live with me, y'all, it's going to be ugly. Right? Period. Okay? You're going to take food stamps. So you want these babies born, but you don't want to feed them. You're going to cut the Department of Education, annihilate it. I want those babies born, but I don't want them educated. How stupid do they think Hoosiers are? Well, Jim thinks you're pretty damn stupid. Maybe it's time for us to show the same resolve that Wisconsin showed last night and said, you know what? We've had enough of your billionaire class. We've had enough of you talking down to us. And here's what we're going to do. Maybe if we tell the voters the truth and stop trying to be moderate and playing warm and fuzzy and oh, I want to work across. I don't want to work across the aisle. I want my policies from my party to go forth because my policies help the human beings and not the oligarchs that are in this nation. And stop calling them billionaires. They're oligarchs. They're no different than the Russians.
And Christine, just
sorry,
to
I'm
go
off
back
my
to what
rant.
you said initially in that rant.
Sorry,
Rant, is
I
it?
ranted for a minute. I'm sorry.
Nothing in politics happens by coincidence.
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So as long as people remember that, we need to wrap things up here. So I'll start with you, Sean. Anything you wanted to say that I did or talk about that I did not ask you? And then where can people find Sean Johnson?
Well, I just think, the important thing is I've always told people there's two things that I really care about the most. That's people and money. You watch a guy like Jim Banks and the people who keeps around him and then follow the money, you know exactly what's coming next. And all these things are public knowledge. So just look at it, follow it, you'll see exactly where it's going to go. You can find me on Facebook, Sean Johnson. I think I actually have two pages, one personal, one political. I'm the founder of the Growth Project. We work with young people, getting them to take on politics as a career. We want to make politics cool again. We want to change the way people see and think about politics. And so you do that simply by engaging and being honest. You can find me on Twitter, X, Instagram.
Better get off that Nazi platform.
As SJ told you so, because I do a lot of research, and when I tell you something, that's why. So thank you, Gary, for having me. As always, you and I are locked in at the hip.
And for the record, you were my very first guest on the revamped version of the SnydeReport. Report. Christine, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm easy to find. I mean, I don't pretend and make weird names up and all that stuff. I am not on X because I will not support the Nazi, Mr. Johnson. I am on Facebook. I'm easy to find. I don't have Insta because I can't figure out how to do Insta. We have a business page on TikTok. The business is CT Swag. C for Christine, T for Thomas. That's my husband. And Swag, SWAG. Pretty easy to find. .com, all that stuff. And then we are also on Blue Sky, so we're easy to find over there too. That's the liberal Democrat one there, Sean. You should go and get yourself one of those.
I'm.
But I am going to do another shameless plug, Gary, because you've done us a solid. Huntington County Democrats purchased a building this year, and that's a big damn deal for a small county party. We are going to be located at 7 East Market Street. Shameless plug, dude. Things are going to get tight. I know that, but we need a new furnace really bad. So go to Gary's page. He's got our link up. Go to Act Blue or reach out to me directly. I'll get you the address, but we're going to need some fundage. It's looking about $8,000 to $10,000 to put in a new furnace in there. So shameless plug over.
Thank you to both of you. We need to thank our sponsors again. Robin Winston, a great sponsor of the newsletter, the original sponsor of the newsletter and the podcast. So thank you, Robin Winston. Thank you, Jill Long Thompson, former Congresswoman. Her new book is out there. It's not very new anymore, but it's still out there. So you want to read it. It's a great book with essays from Todd Young to Andre Carson to Olympia Snow to Paul Helmke, local former mayor of Fort Wayne. So great book. Get out and get it. Across the Aisle, White Bipartisanship Works for America. You'll find all of our links down there somewhere. I don't know. All of our social media. Yes, we're still on X, Christine.
Just shameful.
And I'm not going to lie. Is it Gawk or Grok or whatever they have? Make some amazing pictures.
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. So there you go.
Oh,
Is it a Nazi thing that I don't understand? Like,
it must be. So, and make sure you hit the subscribe button. You know, we're up over 100 subscribers in our on our YouTube channel. So, thank you, Sean Johnson. Thank you, Christine Bohm. I'm Gary Snyder. This is the Snide Report. We're out.